got a question the other day. How do I run a report in Prism Central to show snapshot usage for all my VMs across a multi-cluster environment? So let's show you how that's done. But before we actually run the report, let me explain what my configuration looks like. So the top left, I have a cluster in Phoenix, and that cluster I have created local Prism element snapshots. I've created those manually. They're not being replicated anywhere. Over on the right, I have a Charlotte site that is using local Prism element protection domains to make snapshots of those VMs and then replicate those snapshots to the Raleigh-Durham site. As a note, the Raleigh-Durham site is a dedicated DR site. There are no VMs in that site. Down at the bottom, I have a Chicago site that is using Prism Central protection policies to replicate recovery points from Chicago over to the Omaha site. Like Raleigh-Durham, the Omaha site is a dedicated DR site. There are no VMs that sit in Omaha. So let's take a look at how we create the report, and then I'll come back and explain each one of these in the report. First of all, we go into Prism Central, and under the operations, we create reports. From there, I'm going to create a new report, and let's call that Snapshot Usage by VM. So just kind of give it whatever kind of a name you'd like. We're going to create a data table, call that VM snaps. And then from there, I'm going to select the entity of VM because we want it by VM. And then I'm going to customize those columns. And the only thing I want in those columns is the name of the VM and its snapshot usage. Now, I could add a bunch of other columns to that report if you wanted, but I'm going to stick to just snapshot usage for this report. And then if I stopped right there and ran that report, what you'd do is you'd get a list of all the VMs across all the clusters and their snapshot usage. But instead, I want to group it by cluster so that I can see it very easily by cluster. So down at the bottom, I hit Show Advanced Settings. I want to group that data, and then we want to group it by cluster. So I'm going to click Add there, and then down at the bottom, I'm going to create Save and Run Now. Now it takes me to an option where I can run this report. I can create a report instance name, give it a description, and then specify how far back I want. I'm going to choose, I want to see what the snapshot usage was over the last week. And then I'm going to create a PDF format. Now I could do CSV and it'll give me all the data in a CSV file where I can edit that in Excel. And then of course I can send it via email to a list of recipients if I wanted. But I'm just going to go ahead and just say PDF and click Run. And when I do that, it takes me back to the list of my reports. I'm going to click on that and it'll show the report that I just ran just now. I'm going to click PDF and it'll show me that particular report. So let's dive into this report a little bit. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see it a little better. At the top, I've got the Omaha site, and it shows all the CVMs in the Omaha site. There's no snapshot usage there. Obviously, there's no other VMs in the Omaha site because it's a dedicated DR site. Here's the Phoenix site, and if you recall back from our diagram, Phoenix here is creating local manual snapshots. There's no protection domain. I'm just going in and actually manually snapping those VMs. And then you'll see that it'll show the snapshot usage of those VMs. And then if I show you the Charlotte site, again, the Charlotte site is doing a Prism element protection domain and replicating that data over to Raleigh-Durham. And there you can see my Charlotte site and the VM usage there. And then lastly, we've got down at the bottom the Chicago site that's using a PC protection policy, and those recovery points are being replicated over to Omaha. And if I scroll down, you can see those points there. And just to demonstrate for you, one other option that you've got in the reporting, you could schedule this report to run on a regular basis. And if I add that schedule, I can set it to specify to run daily at a certain time or weekly, monthly, yearly, and then how far back you want it. Either just put it right here in the Prism Central where you can go in and grab them, or I can specify that I can email those on a regular basis. So pretty handy. So hopefully that has shown you how you can create those reports and how you can run those reports. One other thing that's very, very similar to, it's not actually a report, but where you can get this same type of data, is in Prism Central. If I go up to compute and storage and go to my VMs, I can see a list of my VMs, and here you can see the different sites that I have. And just to demonstrate, if I dive into Chicago, if you recall, Chicago is doing those replication points. There are no snapshots that are being taken of these Chicago VMs. Instead, they're recovery points. So you can see there's my crash consistent recovery points. However, if I wanted to view the usage, if I just go back to the VMs, and then I can create a custom view. And so if I add custom, I could create a snapshot usage view, whatever you want to call it. I have the same parameters, so I can go ahead and specify snapshot usage. If I wanted to break it down by cluster, I could do it by cluster, so forth and so on. The same parameters you can do in the reporting. Click Save, and it'll create a custom view within Prism Central. So if you don't want to actually go through the steps of creating those reports, you can create this custom view and refer back to this custom view just by coming up here to your menu. So it creates it, and you can see I created one earlier today. So it'll show you, even though these are recovery points, they show up in this as snapshot usage. And then likewise, if I scroll down. So if you, this gives you one other option to get this type of data out of Prism Central. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, let me know.